The first time my mother ever needed me, I was too young to understand what that meant. The last time she called me, I realized exactly who I had married. My mother, Margaret Hayes, was 82 years old. She wasn't the kind of woman people noticed in a room, but she was the kind of woman people remembered long after they left it. Not because she talked loudly or demanded attention, but because she showed up every time, without fail. She showed up with packed lunches when I was a kid, even when I told her I was too old for that. She showed up at every single baseball game, sitting on the same old folding chair she carried in the trunk of her car like it was part of her identity. And she showed up in the quietest ways, too. Like the nights she'd sit awake in the living room, pretending to watch TV, just waiting for the sound of the front door so she knew I got home safe. She never made a big deal out of it, never asked for anything in return. That wasn't how she loved. My father passed away 12 years ago, just like that. A random Wednesday morning that split our lives into before and after. And while I thought losing him would break her, it didn't. Not in the way you'd expect. She didn't fall apart. She adjusted. Sold one of their cars to cover expenses without telling me. Cut back on everything except Sunday dinners, which she somehow kept going like nothing had changed. And every single time I asked if she needed help, she gave me the same answer. "I'm fine, baby." And somehow, I believed her. Maybe because it was easier to believe she didn't need me than to face the possibility that I wasn't showing up the way she always had for me. By the time I got married, I told myself I had found balance. A good job, a stable home, a wife who knew how to keep things running smoothly. I thought that was what peace looked like. No arguments, no drama, no problems. But I didn't realize something back then. Keeping the peace and having peace are not the same thing. My wife, Lauren, wasn't a bad person, not in the obvious ways. She was organized, focused, always had a schedule for everything. Her life ran on priorities, and she was very clear about what belonged where. Work came first. Social plans came second. Everything else fit in where it could. My mother never quite found a place on that list. It wasn't something you could point to right away. It was smaller than that, subtle. Missed visits, short conversations. The way Lauren would check the time whenever my mom talked a little too long. I noticed it. Of course I did. But I told myself it wasn't a big deal, because that's what you do when you're trying to believe everything is fine. And for a long time, I did believe it. Until the morning my phone rang, and my mother's voice sounded like something I had never heard before. It was 7:42 in the morning when my phone rang. I remember the exact time because I was standing in the kitchen, watching the coffee drip into the pot, slow and steady, like the day hadn't fully decided to begin yet. The house was quiet, too quiet, the kind of quiet you don't notice until something breaks it. My phone buzzed against the counter. Mom. She never called this early, not unless something was wrong. I picked up on the second ring. "Hey, Mom." "Hi, baby." Her voice stopped me cold. It wasn't loud, it wasn't panicked, but it wasn't her. Margaret Hayes didn't sound fragile. She didn't sound unsure. She was the woman who had handled everything life threw at her without flinching. But right now, her voice felt thin, careful, like she was choosing each word so it wouldn't weigh too much. "You okay?" I asked, already straightening up, my hand tightening around the phone. "I didn't want to bother you," she said quickly. "I know you've got work and everything. Mom?" A pause. "My chest feels strange," she admitted quietly. "And my arm, it keeps going a little numb." Everything inside me went still. Chest. Arm. There are certain words you don't need a doctor to translate. "Since when?" I asked, already moving out of the kitchen. "Oh, it's probably nothing," she said, almost apologetically. "It started a little while ago. I thought it would pass." Of course she did. Of course she waited, because that's who she was. "Mom, listen to me," I said, grabbing my keys from the counter. "I'm coming right now. Don't move. Just sit down, okay?" "You don't have to rush," she said softly. "I can call someone else, or maybe I'll just—" "No!" The word came out sharper than I expected. A beat of silence followed. "Just sit down," I repeated, calmer now. "Unlock the door. I'm on my way." Another small pause, then, quietly, "Okay, baby." The line went dead. I stood there for exactly 3 seconds. Not thinking, not planning. Just feeling that shift, that instinct that doesn't ask for permission. Then I moved. Fast. I grabbed my jacket, slid my phone into my pocket, and headed for the door. And stopped. My car wasn't there. Right. Kowalski's auto, alternator issue. They'd called me yesterday, said it wouldn't be ready until at least Friday. I exhaled once, sharp and controlled. Okay, think. Lauren's car. Silver SUV, sitting in the driveway. Full tank. I'd seen her fill it up 2 days ago. No problem. She was upstairs. I could hear the shower running. For a second, just a second, I hesitated. Not because I didn't know what to do, but because something about the moment felt heavier than it should have. Like this wasn't going to be simple. I pushed that thought away and stepped toward the stairs. "Lauren!" I called. The water kept running. "Lauren!" The shower shut off. A pause. Then, "What?" Her voice called back, flat, slightly irritated. Not worried, not curious, just interrupted. I tightened my grip on the railing. "I need your car," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "My mom's not feeling well. Chest pain, arm numb. I need to get her to the hospital." Silence. Not the kind where someone is processing. The kind where someone has already decided. I didn't know it yet, but that silence was about to change everything. The silence stretched for about 5 seconds, but it felt longer. Long enough for something inside me to shift just slightly. Not enough to understand it yet, but enough to feel that something wasn't right. Lauren appeared at the top of the stairs a moment later, hair wrapped in a towel, robe tied loosely at the waist, one hand resting on the railing like she had all the time in the world. Her face was calm. Too calm. "I can't today," she said. Just like that. No question. No, "What happened?" No urgency. For a second, I thought I heard her wrong. "What?" I asked, looking up at her. "I said I can't today," she repeated, a little more clearly this time. "I've got a full day." I blinked. "Lauren, my mom is having chest pain," I said slowly. "Her arm is going numb. I need to take her to the hospital." "I heard you." She leaned her shoulder against the wall, arms crossing lightly over her chest. Not defensive, not emotional, just settled, like this was already decided. "Then?" I took a step closer to the stairs. "I just need your car. I'll be back as soon as I can." A pause. She tilted her head slightly. "Call someone else." The words landed flat, clean, like they had been waiting. "She doesn't like ambulances," I said quickly. "You know that. She had that bad experience a few years ago." "Then call a friend," Lauren cut in. "Or a neighbor. I don't know, Wes. But I really can't do this today." I stared at her. Not because I didn't hear her, but because I was trying to understand how she could say it like that. "My mom could be having a heart attack," I said, my voice quieter now. Not louder, not angry, just steady. Lauren exhaled softly, like I was making things more complicated than they needed to be. "She's your mom," she said. A small pause. "Not mine." Something in my chest tightened. Not panic, not fear. Something colder. "She's your family," I said. Another pause. Lauren's expression didn't change. "I have dinner tonight," she said, like that explained everything. "With Claire and the girls. I've been planning it all week. I can't spend my entire day sitting in a hospital waiting room." There it was. Not cruelty, not anger, just priorities. Clear, simple, unapologetic. I stood there, halfway between the front door and the stairs, and for a brief moment, everything went quiet. Not in the house, inside me. Because I realized something I hadn't allowed myself to see before. This wasn't a bad moment. This wasn't stress. This wasn't miscommunication. This was who she was when it mattered. "Lauren," I said, and even to my own ears my voice sounded different now, flatter, more distant. Her arm is going numb. She pushed herself off the wall, walked back toward the bedroom. "She'll be fine," she said over her shoulder. "Just figure it out." The door closed behind her. Not slammed, not rushed, just closed. Like the conversation was over, like it had never even really started. I stood there for a second longer, just one. Then I reached into my pocket, pulled out my phone, and scrolled to a name I hadn't expected to call that morning. Because if there's one thing life teaches you, eventually, it's exactly who will show up when it matters. And who won't. I tapped the call button and held the phone to my ear. It rang once. "Wes?" a familiar voice answered. "Tom, I need a favor," I said, already stepping outside. "My mom's having chest pain. My car's in the shop. I need to get her to the hospital." There wasn't even a second of hesitation. "I'll be there in 5. That was it. No questions, no conditions. No, "Let me check." Just 5 minutes. I lowered the phone slowly, staring out at the driveway where Lauren's car sat untouched, sunlight reflecting off the windshield like nothing in the world had shifted. 5 minutes. That's all it took for someone who wasn't family to act like it. Tom pulled up in 4. I noticed that. Old habits, I guess. Timing things that matter. His truck rattled slightly as it came to a stop in front of the house. He leaned over, pushed the passenger door open. "Let's go." No small talk. I nodded, got in, and we drove. The ride to my mother's house felt longer than it actually was. Every red light felt personal. Every slow driver felt like an obstacle I didn't have time for. When we pulled up, her front door was already unlocked, just like I told her. I found her sitting on the edge of the couch, hands folded in her lap, her coat already on like she was preparing to go somewhere important. Because she was. "There you are," she said softly, trying to smile, like she hadn't just scared 10 years off my life. "I'm here, Mom," I said, kneeling in front of her. "We're going to the hospital, okay?" "Oh, I really don't want to make a fuss," she murmured. "You're not," I said firmly, helping her to her feet. "You're coming with me." Tom was already at the door, holding it open. "Morning, Margaret," he said, like this was just another normal day. She smiled at him. "Sorry to drag you into this." He waved it off. "Don't worry about it." And just like that, we were moving. The hospital was busy, too bright, too loud, too normal for something that didn't feel normal at all. They got her in within 20 minutes. A nurse, a doctor, machines, questions. Everything moved quickly, but not fast enough. Chest discomfort, numbness in the left arm, the doctor repeated, already writing something down. We're going to run some tests. EKG first. My mother looked at me. Not scared, just checking, like she needed to know I was still there. I'm right here, I said. She nodded once and let them take her. And just like that, I was alone. The waiting room was cold. Plastic chairs, bad coffee, a television mounted in the corner playing something nobody was watching. Time didn't move the same in there. Minutes stretched, thoughts got louder. I sat there, elbows on my knees, staring at the floor, replaying the morning over and over again. Her voice. Lauren's voice. Call someone else. I pulled out my phone. No messages, no missed calls. Nothing. Not a single, is she okay? Not even a, did you make it? I stared at the screen for a few seconds, then locked it and set it face down beside me. Because in that moment, something became very clear. It wasn't that Lauren didn't understand the situation. It was that she had understood it perfectly and still chose not to be there. Across the parking lot, through the glass doors, I could see Tom sitting in his truck. Still there, waiting. Didn't leave, didn't rush off, didn't check the time, just stayed. And I sat there in that waiting room, with the hum of machines and the weight of everything settling slowly into place. And for the first time that morning, I stopped feeling shocked and started feeling something else, something quieter, something colder, something that didn't need to be loud to be permanent. The doctor found me at exactly 11:12. I remember that because I had been staring at the same crack in the tile floor for what felt like hours, trying not to imagine all the ways the day could end differently. Mr. Hayes? I looked up. He wasn't rushed. That was the first thing I noticed. Calm voice, steady posture. The kind of presence that didn't create panic, but didn't hide truth either. Your mother had what we'd call a mild cardiac event, he said. Not a full heart attack, but it's her body telling us something isn't right. I nodded slowly. She's stable, he added. We're going to keep her for observation, run a few more tests, adjust her medication. But you got her here in time. Got her here in time. The words landed heavier than they should have. Can I see her? I asked. In about 20 minutes. I thanked him, sat back down, and let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. She was okay. That should have been enough. But it wasn't. Because sitting there, in that quiet waiting room, one thought kept circling back, over and over again. She almost didn't get here in time. Not because of traffic, not because of distance. Because of a decision. I leaned forward, resting my elbows on my knees, staring at my hands. Call someone else. The words echoed again, and this time, they didn't feel shocking. They felt final. My mother was sitting up when I walked into her room. Color had returned to her face, not fully, but enough to remind me who she was. Hey, baby, she said softly. I smiled, pulling the chair closer. Hey. She reached for my hand immediately, like she always did. You came. 2 words, simple. But something about the way she said them, like it wasn't a given, hit deeper than anything else that day. I'll always come, I said. She nodded like she believed me, because she always had. We sat like that for a while, quiet, easy, the kind of silence that didn't need filling. Then she spoke again. Lauren didn't come. Not a question. A statement. I hesitated. Just for a second. She had plans, I said. My mother didn't react the way I expected. No disappointment, no anger, just a small nod, like something had been confirmed. I see, she said. And that was it. No lecture, no emotion, just understanding. The kind that doesn't come from a single moment, but from a pattern. She let go of my hand, reached over to the small table beside her bed, and picked up her phone. I think I'd like to call Mr. Jenkins, she said. I frowned slightly. Your lawyer? Yes. Her voice was calm, clear, certain. Something in my chest tightened. Mom, you don't have to. She looked at me. Not sharply, not harshly, but firmly enough to stop me mid-sentence. I'm not upset, she said. I'm just paying attention. Those words. They landed differently, because she meant them. This wasn't reaction. This was decision. I've spent my whole life building something, she continued quietly. Your father and I, we worked for everything we have. And I always thought I knew where it would go. A pause. But I was wrong. The room felt smaller somehow, more focused, more real. I want it to go where it belongs, she said. I didn't speak, didn't interrupt, because deep down, I already knew what she meant. And for the first time that day, I realized something had just changed. Not emotionally, not temporarily, but permanently. I got home a little after 5 o'clock. The house looked exactly the same as it had that morning. Same driveway, same front door, same quiet. But it didn't feel the same. Lauren was already in the living room when I walked in. She was sitting on the edge of the couch, phone in her hands, posture stiff, like she had been waiting, but not patiently. Her head snapped up the second the door closed behind me. Wesley. My name came out too quickly, too sharp. I set my keys down by the door, took off my jacket slowly, deliberately, like I wasn't in any kind of rush. I've been calling you, she said, standing up. All day. I know, I replied. My voice surprised even me. Calm, flat, controlled. Not angry, not emotional, just done. She took a step closer. Your mom, how is she? Stable, I said. They're keeping her overnight. Lauren nodded quickly. Okay, good. That's good. She stopped herself, swallowed. Something was off. Not guilt, not yet. Something else. What happened today? She asked carefully. I looked at her, really looked this time. And for the first time in a long time, I wasn't trying to understand her. I wasn't trying to explain her. I was just seeing her. She called me, I said. 7:42 this morning. Chest pain, arm numb. Lauren nodded again, slower this time. I told you that, I continued, at the bottom of the stairs. Her eyes flickered. I know, You told me to call someone else. Silence. Heavy. Immediate. I didn't mean it like that, she said quickly. Wesley, I had a full day. I thought maybe it wasn't that serious, and It was serious. I didn't raise my voice. Didn't need to. She had a cardiac event, I said. Doctor said if we waited, it could have been a lot worse. Lauren's face drained slightly. I didn't know that, she whispered. I held her gaze. You didn't ask. That landed. Hard. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, because there wasn't anything to argue with. A beat passed, then another. Wesley, she said, softer now. I can call her. I can go tomorrow. I'll make it right. I almost smiled. Not because it was funny, but because it was too late. She already made her decision, I said. Lauren frowned. What do you mean? I paused. Not for effect, just because I wanted to choose the words carefully. She called her lawyer today. The silence that followed was different. Not confusion, not tension. Fear. Real fear. What? She said. She updated her will. Lauren stared at me like she hadn't heard correctly. She what? She removed you, I said simply. The room went completely still. You're lying. I'm not. She wouldn't do that. She did. Lauren shook her head, stepping back slightly. No, this is just because she's upset. She'll calm down. I'll talk to her. She's not upset. That made her stop. She's clear, I continued. That's the difference. Lauren's breathing changed, faster now, uneven. This is insane, she said. Wesley, you have to fix this. I didn't respond right away, because for the first time, I understood something completely. There was nothing to fix. She spent her whole life showing up for people, I said quietly. And today, she realized exactly who shows up for her. Lauren looked at me like she was seeing me for the first time. Are you really going to let this happen? She asked. I met her eyes and felt nothing. No anger, no hesitation, just clarity. I didn't let it happen, I said. You did. That was it. That was the moment. Not loud, not dramatic, just final. Lauren's phone buzzed in her hand. She looked down. My mother's name on the screen. She looked back up at me. Something close to panic in her eyes now. Hope, desperation. I stepped past her, picked up my keys again. Where are you going? She asked. To see my mom. I walked to the door, opened it. Cold air rushed in, fresh, clean, real. Wesley, I paused just for a second, then turned slightly. You should answer that, I said. And then I walked out. Not angry, not broken, just free.